हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू द एनसीईआरटी सेशन फॉर क्लास 7। आप सभी का स्वागत है। सो टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी द चैप्टर मोशन एंड टाइम। सो लेट्स बिगिन। इन क्लास 6 you learned about different types of motions. You learned that a motion could be along a straight line, it could be circular or periodic. Can you recall these three types of motions? तो क्लास 6 में आपने तीन टाइप के मोशन पढ़े थे। One was a motion that's in a straight line, one was a circular motion, and one was a periodic motion which happens over a period of time. तो ये तीन मोशंस आपने क्लास 6 में पढ़े थे और आपको शायद ये मोशंस याद नहीं होंगे. So let's look at some examples of motions and try to identify if we can place each of this motion in a category from these three. तो पहला हम देखते हैं soldiers in a march past. So have you ever seen soldiers marching in in a march past? तो आप देखते होंगे कि यूजुअली सोल्जर्स स्ट्रेट लाइन में बिल्कुल एकदम सीधे मार्च करते हैं. सो दिस इज अ मोशन विच इज इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन. नेक्स्ट, अ bullock cart that is moving along a straight road. So since it's a bullock cart and it's moving in a straight road, this motion will also be a motion in a straight line. Hands of an athlete in a race. तो आप क्या ये गेस कर सकते हैं कि what type of motion would an athlete's hand make जब वो भागता है? An athlete is a runner जो रेस में दौड़ता है. तो जब आप कभी भी दौड़ते हैं तो आपके हाथ कैसे जाते हैं? तो जब भी आप दौड़ते हैं तो आपके हाथ आगे पीछे ऐसे जाते हैं. सो what is this sort of a motion? This is a periodic motion wherein your hands are making a constant motion over a period of time. The next is paddle of a bicycle in motion. तो जब आप किसी बाइसिकल पे बैठते हैं, आप सभी ने साइकिल चलाई होगी, तो जब आप पैडल मारते हैं तो हम देखते हैं कि हमारा पैडल राउंड एंड राउंड जाता है. The motion of the earth around the sun. Again, this is very simple. The earth revolves around the sun in a circular path. So if this is the sun, the earth goes around it in a circular path. The motion of a swing. So if you've ever seen a swing, uh, किसी पार्क में अगर आपने स्विंग देखा होगा, so even the swing, it goes back and then it comes forward, it goes back and then it comes forward. So this is a periodic motion which happens in a to and fro manner. And last but not the least, we're talking about a pendulum. तो एक घड़ी में एक pendulum होता है which again makes a periodic motion wherein it goes to and fro, back and forth. So here what we've done is we've classified each type of motion into different classes: straight line, circular, and periodic. Since you've already studied all this in class 6, this should be a fairly simple exercise for all of you. So let's move on. It is a common experience that the motion of some objects is slow while that of some others is fast. तो कुछ objects धीरे चलते हैं और कुछ objects तेज चलते हैं. We know that some vehicles move faster than others. Even the same vehicle may move faster or slower at different times. Make a list of 10 objects moving along a straight path. Group the motion of these objects as slow and fast. How did you decide which object is moving slow and which is moving fast? तो हम अक्सर क्या देखते हैं कि कुछ व्हीकल्स होती हैं वो धीरे चलती हैं और कुछ व्हीकल्स होती हैं वो तेज चलती हैं. जैसे कि एक साइकिल हो गई वो धीरे चलेगी और एक कार हो गई वो तेज चलेगी और एक हवाई जहाज हो गया वो उससे भी ज्यादा तेज चलेगा. तो हम ये देखते हैं कि अलग अलग व्हीकल्स अलग अलग स्पीड में चलती हैं. लेकिन एक इफ यू टॉक अबाउट वन पर्टिकुलर व्हीकल लाइक लेट्स से अ कार, तो वो भी अलग अलग स्पीड में चल सकती है. सो हियर व्हाट आर वी सेइंग दैट द सेम व्हीकल में आल्सो मूव स्लो और फास्ट. तो जब आप कार जस्ट स्टार्ट करते हैं तो वो हल्के हल्के स्पीड पकड़ती है और फाइनली वो तेजी से चलने लग जाती है. So what activity you all can do is you can make a list of 10 objects that move in a straight path and then group them as slow or fast. So, like, let's say a bullock cart or a cycle is something that goes slow, a train, a car, or an aeroplane. These are some things that go fast. So, this is an exercise that you can easily do. If vehicles are moving on a road in the same direction, we can easily tell which one of them is moving faster than the other. Let us look at the motion of vehicles moving on a road. तो अक्सर हम अगर अपनी सड़क पे देखते हैं तो हम देख के ही बता सकते हैं कि ये व्हीकल तेज जा रही है या ये व्हीकल धीमे जा रही है, बट हम ये अंदाजा कैसे लगाते हैं कि दिस व्हीकल इज मूविंग स्लो एंड दिस व्हीकल इज मूविंग फास्ट. So let's look at this activity. So here they're talking about a figure called 9.1. What does this figure 9.1 show us? The figure 9.1 shows us that there are some vehicles on the road. So you can see there's a green vehicle, a light blue vehicle, a, a light green vehicle. There are a few white vehicles. There's a red vehicle. So just keep this picture in the mind that there are vehicles on the road in the figure 9.1. So when we look at the figure 9.1, it shows the position of some vehicles moving on a road in the same direction at some instant of time. Now, let us look at the figure 9.2. So what does the figure 9.2 show us? The figure 9.2 also shows us the position of vehicles, but it shows us the position of vehicles after some time. So initially what was the position of the vehicles? पहले क्या थी position? ऐसी कुछ थी और कुछ समय बाद वो बदल के कैसी हो गई? ऐसे हो गई. तो आप सब कुछ चेंज देख पा रहे हैं दोनों इमेजेस में, राइट? सो मोस्ट ऑफ यू मस्ट हैव गेस्ड इट राइट कि जो ग्रीन वाली कार थी वो थोड़ी आगे निकल गई है बाकी कारों से. सो व्हाट डज दिस टेल अस? दैट द ग्रीन कार मस्ट हैव बीन मूविंग फास्टर देन द अदर कार्स. So it shows the, what does the figure 9.2 show? It shows the position of the same vehicle after some time. From your observation of the two figures, answer the following questions. Which vehicle is moving the fastest of all? Which one of them is moving the slowest of all? So you can easily guess which is moving the fastest, which is moving the slowest. The green one was clearly moving the fastest here. You can see that in these two images, from these two images, पहले जो green वाली थी ये वाली vehicle वो पीछे थी और यहाँ पे वो आगे आ जाती है. और similarly, which one do you think is moving the slowest? I think the others are moving slower than the green one. So moving forward, the distance moved by the objects in a given interval of time can help us to decide which one is moving faster or slower. तो हम कैसे डिसाइड करेंगे कि कौन सी व्हीकल फास्ट जा रही है और कौन सी व्हीकल स्लो जा रही है? We can say this by seeing which vehicle has moved how much distance. कौन सी vehicle कितना distance cover कर चुकी है? For example, imagine that you have gone to see of your friend at the bus stand. Suppose you start paddling your bicycle at the same time as the bus begins to move. The distance covered by you after 5 minutes would be much smaller than that covered by the bus. Would you say that the bus is moving faster than the bicycle? तो मान लो आप अपने दोस्त को छोड़ने गए हो बस स्टैंड पे और आप एक साइकिल पे बैठते हो और उसी टाइम पे बस भी चालू हो जाती है. तो आप देखते हो कि जितना 5 मिनट बाद जितना डिस्टेंस बस ने कवर किया है उससे कहीं कम डिस्टेंस आप कवर कर पाए हो. तो इससे हम क्या अनुमान लगा सकते हैं कि क्या बस हमसे ज्यादा तेज चल रही है? तो ऑफ कोर्स दैट्स ट्रू कि बस हमसे ज्यादा तेज चल रही होगी क्योंकि उसने ज्यादा डिस्टेंस कवर किया होगा उन 5 मिनट में. वी ऑफन से दैट the faster the vehicle, we often say that the faster vehicle has a higher speed. तो जो vehicle तेज होगी उसकी speed high होगी. So it's easily derived from here that faster vehicle has a higher speed. In a 100-meter race, it is easy to decide whose speed is the highest. One who takes the shortest time to cover the distance of 100 meters has the highest speed. तो अगर आप मान लो 100 मीटर की रेस में हो अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ, तो जो 100 मीटर्स की रेस सबसे कम समय में पूरा करेगा वो सबसे तेज दौड़ता है. So in we can say that the person who takes the least amount of time to cover a given distance has the highest speed or is the fastest. So moving on to the next topic, what is speed? You are probably familiar with the word speed. आप सभी ने सुना होगा या यूज करते हैं कि अ, फलाने चीज की स्पीड क्या है या फिर एक्स वाई जेड की स्पीड क्या है. In the examples given above, a higher speed seems to indicate that a given distance has been covered in a shorter time, or a larger distance covered in a given time. So, what are we talking about here? That if a vehicle has a higher speed, it is said to be, it is understood that वो ज़्यादा distance cover करेगा. तो किसी भी vehicle का मान लो speed ज़्यादा है, let's say you have two vehicles A and B. अगर इसकी स्पीड मान लीजिए 20 है और इसकी स्पीड 10 है, तो जाहिर सी बात है कि ये ज्यादा डिस्टेंस कवर करेगी इस वाले ऑब्जेक्ट से. सो दैट्स व्हाट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट स्पीड. हायर द स्पीड, हायर द डिस्टेंस कवर्ड बाय द ऑब्जेक्ट. The most convenient way to find out which of the two or more objects is moving faster is to compare the distances covered by them in unit time. Thus, if we know the distance covered by the two buses in 1 hour, we can tell which one is faster. We call the distance covered by an object in a unit time as speed of the object. So over here what we are trying to do, हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम speed की definition समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So what is the easiest way to understand speed? हम ये देखते हैं कि एक यूनिट टाइम में किसी भी ऑब्जेक्ट ने कितना डिस्टेंस कवर किया है. व्हाट इज यूनिट टाइम? सो हम लोगों ने बचपन में पढ़ा था टेंस यूनिट्स थाउजेंड्स, यूनिट्स टेंस थाउजेंड्स. जैसे हम कोई भी नंबर लिखते हैं 3, 2, 1, 5, तो ये इसकी यूनिट्स प्लेस हो गई, ये थाउजेंड्स प्लेस हो गई, सॉरी ये टेंस प्लेस हो गई, ये 100 प्लेस हो गई और ये 1000 प्लेस हो गई. सो द फर्स्ट प्लेस or the place number 1 is called units. So usually what are we talking about here? Anything that is a singular quantity or one is actually a unit. So if we talk about unit time, that means either 1 second, 1 hour, 1 minute, anything that is associated with one is said to be unit. So here when we'll talk about unit time, we'll always talk about a singular unit of time. तो मान लीजिए दो ऑब्जेक्ट्स हैं ए एंड बी. 1 सेकंड में ए जाता है 10 मीटर्स और 1 सेकंड में बी जाता है 5 मीटर्स. तो किसकी स्पीड सबसे ज्यादा होगी? ए की. वाई? बिकॉज इट इज कवरिंग 10 मीटर्स इन इन अ गिवन यूनिट टाइम which is 1 second. So that is what is being talked here, that uh, we can say which object is moving faster by comparing the distances moved by them in unit time. एक यूनिट टाइम में अगर हम कितना डिस्टेंस ऑब्जेक्ट्स ने कवर किया, अगर हम ये कंपेयर करेंगे तो हम ये बता सकते हैं कि कौन सा ऑब्जेक्ट फास्टर है. तो इन डिफरेंट वर्ड्स लेट्स से ए एंड बी, वी हैव टू ऑब्जेक्ट्स. ये लेट्स से 5 सेकेंड्स में 250 मीटर्स जाता है, और बी 10 सेकेंड्स में 350 मीटर्स जाता है। सो हाउ डू वी कैलकुलेट कि ए की स्पीड ज्यादा है या बी की? तो हम क्या करेंगे कि विल सी हाउ मच इज ए ट्रेवल्ड इन अ यूनिट टाइम एंड हाउ मच इज बी ट्रेवल्ड इन अ यूनिट टाइम। तो अगर ये 5 सेकंड में 250 मीटर्स जा रहा है तो 1 सेकंड में कितना जाएगा? 50 मीटर्स। और अगर ये 10 सेकंड्स में 350 जा रहा है तो ये 1 सेकंड में कितना जाएगा? 35 meters. So we can see that this is going 50 meters in 1 second and this is going 35 meters in 1 second. तो इससे हम क्या अनुमान लगा सकते हैं कि A की स्पीड is far more than B की स्पीड. How did we compare? How did we get this? We compared the distance traveled by A and distance traveled by B in a unit time. Unit time being 1 second. हम सेम एक्सरसाइज कर सकते हैं with a different unit. Let's say there's a object A और there's a object B. मान लीजिए ये गया 100 किलोमीटर्स 2 घंटे में, 2 hours में, and this B went 200 kilometers in 2 hours. तो हम कैसे कंपेयर करेंगे कि किसकी स्पीड ज्यादा है? तो हम कहेंगे कि this went 100 kilometers in 2 hours. So in a unit time how much did it go? Unit time मतलब 1 घंटा in 1 hour. तो अगर 2 घंटे में 100 किलोमीटर गया तो इन 1 hour दिस वेंट 50 किलोमीटर्स. इफ इन 2 hours इट वेंट 200 किलोमीटर्स तो 1 घंटे में ये कितना जाएगा? 100 किलोमीटर्स. So we are saying that A is going 50 kilometers in 1 hour, B is going 100 kilometers in 1 hour. So from here what can we say? That A is moving slower and B is moving faster. Why? Because when we compare the distances in unit time, then we can say that B has covered a greater amount of distance. So this is what is being said here, that when you compare the distances moved by them in a unit time, then you can say which object is moving faster and which object is moving slower. And if you extend this statement further, you can actually get the definition of speed. So let's see what speed is. Thus, if we know the distance covered by two buses in 1 hour, we can tell which one is moving faster. Of course, if we know the distance covered by any two objects in 1 hour or 1 second or 1 minute, we can tell which one is faster. So what do we call speed? We call the distance covered by an object in a unit time as the speed of the object. तो आप मान लो कि अगर A 100 मीटर्स जाता है 5 सेकेंड्स में, तो एक यूनिट टाइम में कितना जाएगा? 20 मीटर्स. 20 meters in 1 second. Okay, so we can say the speed of A is 20 meter per second. Let me just explain it in a cleaner way. So let's say we have A, it goes 100 meters and the time it takes to go 100 meters is 5 seconds. So how much will it travel in 1 second? In 1 second, it will go 100 divided by 5, which is 20 meters. So in 1 second, it's going how much? 20 meters. So we can also say that uh, this is A is traveling at 20 meters per second. Per second here means in 1 second, right? Or we can alternatively say it's going 100 meters in 5 seconds. And then if you want to uh, uh, reduce this fraction, you can say it's going at 20 meters upon 1 second, or in simpler terms, it's going 20 meters per second. So I hope the definition of speed is clear, because this is a very, very important definition going forward for this class as well as for the higher classes. So what is speed? Speed is actually the distance covered by an object in a unit time. A unit time can be either a second, it can be either a minute, it can be either an hour. It all depends on what is the unit of time that you want to calculate in, but it should be a singular. Okay, so let's move forward. When we say that a car is moving with a speed of 50 kilometers per hour, it implies that it will cover a distance of 50 kilometers in 1 hour. So I've explained this. If a car is moving with 50 kilometers per hour, here per hour means 50 kilometers in 1 hour. So what does it imply? That the distance covered will be 50 kilometers in 1 hour. However, a car seldom moves with a constant speed for 1 hour. In fact, it starts moving slowly and then picks up the speed. तो अक्सर होता क्या है कि कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट या कोई भी व्हीकल कांस्टेंट स्पीड पे नहीं चलती. आप कार स्टार्ट करते हो तो वो हल्के हल्के स्पीड पिकअप करती है और फिर तेज हो जाती है. तो अगर आप कह रहे हो कि कार 50 किलोमीटर पर आवर पे चल रही है, इट डज नॉट मीन कि वो स्टार्ट होते ही 50 किलोमीटर पे आ गई. इट इज योर एवरेज स्पीड. ठीक है, आप एवरेज स्पीड बताते हो कि हाँ चलो 50 किलोमीटर पर आवर पे चल रही होगी, बट अदरवाइज mostly vehicles, they do not move in a constant speed. So when we say that the car has a speed of 50 kilometers per hour, we usually consider only the total distance covered by it in 1 hour. तो आप यूजुअली क्या करते हो कि आप ये नहीं देखते हो कि अ, मान लीजिए आपकी ये जो कार है, it starts with, let's say it goes 50 kilometers in 1 hour. तो आप ये नहीं देखते हो कि यार पहले 10 सेकेंड, पहले 10 मिनट में कितनी गई, फिर नेक्स्ट 10 मिनट्स में हाउ मच डिड गो, देन नेक्स्ट 10 मिनट्स में हाउ मच डिड गो. हो सकता है कि इन द फर्स्ट 10 मिनट्स इट वाज इन द सिटी, तो वो बहुत हल्के चली हो, इट माइट हैव गॉन ओनली 2 किलोमीटर्स. हो सकता है फॉर द नेक्स्ट 10 मिनट्स इट वेंट 20 किलोमीटर्स. हो सकता है फिर अगले 10 मिनट्स में आप किसी फाटक पे आ गए हो, रेलवे स्टेशन पे आ गए हो, या कहीं क्रॉसिंग पे आ गए हो, या किसी जाम में फंस गए हो, एंड देन यू वर एबल टू ओनली गो 3 kilometers. And then in the next 10 minutes again you might have gone for more or less kilometers. So what you can see is that the distance that you cover is not constant, ये fixed नहीं है. So what are we saying कि हम rather than seeing a breakup of distances at a smaller units of time, हम एक बड़ा यूनिट ले लेते हैं कि यार 1 घंटे में हम 50 यूनिट कवर कर लिए. तो हमारी एवरेज स्पीड 1 घंटे में कितनी थी? 50 किलोमीटर पर आवर. We are not saying that in the first 10 minutes we went for this much, in the next 10 minutes itna, in the next 10 minutes itna. So that is what we are talking about when we say that we look at the total distance covered in 1 hour. We do not bother with whether the car has been moving with a constant speed or not during that hour. The speed calculated here is actually the average speed of the car. So this is what I've been saying, it's the average speed. ये एक average है हर एक टाइम इंटरवल का. तो अगर आप इन सब टाइम इंटरवल्स का एवरेज लोगे, उसमें कुछ कहीं पे वो बहुत तेज जा रही है और कहीं पे वो बहुत हल्की जा रही है, तो उसका एवरेज निकल के कितना आना चाहिए कि 1 घंटे में वो 50 किलोमीटर चल पाई. इन दिस बुक we shall use the term speed for average speed. So for us the speed is the total distance covered divided by the total time taken. तो इस बुक में और आपकी क्लास के लिए हम क्या मान के चलेंगे कि जो हम स्पीड ले रहे हैं, that is actually the average speed, and it means that the speed is defined by total distance covered upon total time taken to cover that distance. And this is the formula for speed. So just let's move on. In everyday life, we seldom find objects moving with a constant speed over a long distance or for long durations of time. If the speed of an object moving along a straight line keeps changing, its motion is said to be non-uniform. On the other hand, an object moving along a straight line with a constant speed is said to be in uniform motion. In this case, the average speed is the same as the actual speed. So इन अ रियल लाइफ क्या होता है कि हम ज्यादातर जो भी ऑब्जेक्ट्स देखते हैं ना, उनमें से कोई भी ऑब्जेक्ट कांस्टेंट स्पीड पे नहीं चल रहा होता. वो वो किस स्पीड में चल रहा होता है? इट मूव्स एट अ स्पीड विच कीप्स चेंजिंग, एंड दिस टाइप ऑफ मोशन इज कॉल्ड अ नॉन यूनिफॉर्म मोशन. अगर कोई ऑब्जेक्ट ऐसा है जो कांस्टेंट स्पीड पे चलेगा, तो उस ऑब्जेक्ट को क्या कहेंगे? उस ऑब्जेक्ट के मोशन को व्हील से यूनिफॉर्म मोशन. If an object is traveling at a uniform motion, or if an object has a uniform motion, तो उसकी जो average speed होगी ना, it'll be same as the actual speed. So what does this mean? Let's say an object A has traveled 50 kilometers, or let's say for simplicity it has traveled 60 kilometers in 1 hour. So it means that it must have traveled 1 kilometer in 1 minute. It must have traveled 2 kilometers in 2 minutes. It must have traveled 10 kilometers in 10 minutes. So it's moving at a constant speed. हर एक किलोमीटर में उसको 1 मिनट लग रहा है. It's totally fixed. So that's what is constant speed. But if we come across an object which is non-uniform, so what would that look like? Let's say we have A which travels 60 kilometers in 1 hour. तो उसमें क्या होगा कि हो सकता है 1 मिनट में वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ 500 मीटर गया हो, या लेट्स से 0.5 kilometers. In 2 minutes, maybe it's gone 3 kilometers. In 10 minutes, maybe it was able to go 15 kilometers. In 20 minutes, it was able to go only 20 kilometers. So in first minute, it was able to cover zero point 0.5 kilometers. In the next 1 minute, it was able to cover 2.5 kilometers. In 10 minutes, it was able to cover 15 kilometers. In the next 10 minutes, it was able to cover only 5 kilometers. So what we are seeing here is we are seeing a non-uniform motion. So uniform और non-uniform क्या होता है? Uniform is something that is same. आप लोग स्कूल जाते हैं and then you wear same clothes. उसको हम uniform बोलते हैं. Why? Because everyone is wearing the same clothes. So uniform is a motion which is constant throughout, and non-uniform is a motion which keeps changing. So yeah, let's continue further. I hope that's clear now. So we can determine the speed of a given object once we can measure the time taken by it to cover a certain distance. So if we can measure the time taken by an object to cover a certain distance, we can measure its speed. आपको स्पीड मेजर करने के लिए क्या चाहिए? आपको स्पीड मेजर करने के लिए दो चीजें चाहिए. एक तो है कि उसने कितना डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल किया, और उस डिस्टेंस को कितने टाइम में ट्रैवल किया. So two things, what are we saying? To measure speed, what do we need? We need the time, and then उस टाइम में उसने कितना डिस्टेंस कवर किया, और वी नीड द डिस्टेंस, और ये डिस्टेंस उसने कितने टाइम में कवर किया. You understand, right? So if we have these two things for any object, we can find its speed. In class 6, you learned how to measure distances, But how do we measure time? Uh, we'll find this out in the next video. So please like and subscribe, and please comment if you have any further questions in what has been taught so far. And we'll continue in the next session with measurement of time. Thank you.